Hi everybody, I'm Tim Schaedel, just got off a plane, and I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, here to read Joshua 6 through 8. Now, Jericho was tightly shut up because of the children of Israel. No one went out and no one came in. Yahweh said to Joshua, "Behold, I have given Jericho into your hand, with its king and the mighty men of valor. All of your men of war shall march around the city, going around the city once. You shall do this 6 days. 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. On the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. It shall be when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when you hear the sound of a trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout. Then the city will fall down flat, and the people shall go up, every man straight in front of him." Joshua, the son of Nun, called the priests and said to them, "Take up the ark of the covenant, and let the 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before Yahweh's ark." They said to the people, "Advance, march around the city, and let the armed men pass before Yahweh's ark." It was so that when Joshua had spoken to the people, the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before Yahweh advanced and blew the trumpets, and the ark of Yahweh's covenant followed them. The armed men went before the priests who blew the trumpets, and the ark went after them. The trumpets sounded as they went. Joshua commanded the people, saying, "You shall not shout, nor let your voice be heard. Neither shall any word proceed out of your mouth until the day I tell you to shout. Then you shall shout." So he caused Yahweh's ark to go around the city, circling it once. Then they came into the camp and stayed in the camp. Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up Yahweh's ark. The 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns in front of Yahweh's ark went on continually and blew the trumpets. The armed men went in front of them. The rear guard came after Yahweh's ark. The trumpets sounded as they went. The 2nd day they marched around the city once, and returned to the camp. They did this 6 days. On the 7th day they rose early at the dawning of the day, and marched around the city in the same way 7 times. On this day only they marched around the city 7 times. At the 7th time, when the priests blew the trumpets, Joshua said to the people, "Shout, for Yahweh has given you the city. The city shall be devoted, even it and all that is in it, to Yahweh. Only Rahab, the prostitute, shall live, she and all who are with her in her house, because she hid the messengers that we sent. But as for you, only keep yourselves from what is devoted to destruction, lest, when you have devoted it, you can take the devoted thing, so you would make the camp of Israel accursed and trouble it. All the silver, gold, and vessels of bronze and iron are holy to Yahweh. They shall come into Yahweh's treasury." So the people shouted, and the priests blew the trumpets. When the people heard the sound of the trumpet, the people shouted with a great shout, and the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight in front of him, and they took the city. They utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man and woman, both young and old, and ox, sheep, and donkey, with the edge of the sword. Joshua said to the 2 men who had spied out the land, "Go into the prostitute's house, and bring the woman and all that she has out from there, as you swore to her." The young men who were spies went in, and brought out Rahab with her father, her mother, her brothers, and all that she had. They also brought out all of her relatives, and they set them outside of the camp of Israel. They burned the city with fire, and all that was in it. They only put the silver, the gold, and the vessels of bronze and of iron into the treasury of Yahweh's house. But Rahab the prostitute, her father's household, and all that she had in it, Joshua saved alive. She lives in the middle of Israel to this day, because she hid the messengers whom Joshua sent to spy out Jericho. Joshua commanded them with an oath at the time, saying, "Cursed is the man before Yahweh who rises up and builds this city Jericho. With the loss of his firstborn he will lay down its foundation. With the loss of his youngest son he will set up its gates." So Yahweh was with Joshua, and his fame was in all the land. 7. But the children of Israel committed a trespass in the devoted things. For Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, took some of the devoted things. Therefore Yahweh's anger burned against the children of Israel. Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Beth Aven, on the east side of Bethel, and spoke to them, saying, "Go up and spy out the land." The men went up and spied out Ai. They returned to Joshua and said to him, "Don't let all the people go up, but let about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and strike Ai. Don't make all the people toil there, for there are only a few of them." But about 3,000 men of the people went up there, and they fled before the men of Ahi. The men of Ai struck about 36 men of them. They chased them before the gate to Shebarim and struck them at the descent. The hearts of the people melted and became like water. Joshua tore his clothes, and fell to the earth on his face before Yahweh's ark until the evening. He and the elders of Israel, and they put dust on their heads. Joshua, "Alas, Lord Yahweh, we have brought you this people over the Jordan at all, to deliver us into the hand of the Amorites, to cause us to perish? I wish that we had been content and lived beyond the Jordan. O Lord, what shall I say after Israel has turned their backs before their enemies? For the Canaanites, all the inhabitants of the land, will hear of it, and will surround us, and will cut off our name from the earth. What will you do for your great name?" Yahweh said to Joshua, "Get up. Why have you fallen on your face like that? Israel has sinned, yes. They have even transgressed my covenant which I commanded them. Yes, they have even taken some of the devoted things, and have also stolen and also deceived. They have even put it among their own stuff. Therefore, the children of Israel can't stand before their enemies. They turn their backs before their enemies because they have become devoted for destruction. I have not be with you anymore unless you destroy the devoted things from among you. Get up. Sanctify the people and say, Sanctify yourselves for tomorrow, for Yahweh, for the God of Israel, says, there is a devoted thing among you, Israel. You cannot stand before your enemies until you take away the devoted thing from among you. In the morning, therefore, you shall be brought near by your tribes. It shall be that the tribe which Yahweh selects shall come near by families. The family which Yahweh selects shall come near by households. The households which Yahweh selects shall come near by man. It shall be that he who is taken with the devoted thing shall be burned with fire, and all that he has, because he has transgressed Yahweh's covenant, and because he has done a disgraceful thing in Israel. So Joshua rose early in the morning and brought Israel near by their tribes. The tribe of Judah was selected. He brought near the family of Judah and selected the family of Zerites. He brought near the family of Zerites man by man, and Zabdi was selected. He brought near his household man by man, and Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, was selected. Joshua said to Achan, "My son, please give glory to Yahweh, the God of Israel, and make confession to him. Tell me now what you have done. Don't hide it from me." Achan answered Joshua and said, "I have truly sinned against Yahweh, the God of Israel, and this is what I have done. When I saw among the plunder a beautiful Babylonian robe, 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold weighing 50 shekels, I then coveted them and took them. Behold, they are hidden in the ground in the middle of my tent, with the silver under it." So Joshua sent messengers, and they ran to the tent. Behold, it was hidden in the tent, with the silver under it. They took them from the middle of the tent, and brought them to Joshua and to all the children of Israel. They laid them down before Yahweh. Joshua, and all of Israel with him, took Achan the son of Zerah, the silver, the robe, and the wedge of gold, his sons, his daughters, his cattle, his donkeys, his sheep, his tent, and all that he had, and they brought them up to the valley of Acre. Joshua said, "Why have you troubled us? Yahweh will trouble you today." All Israel stoned him with the stones, and they burned them with fire and stoned them with stones. They raised over him a great heap of stones that remains to this day. Yahweh turned from the fierceness of his anger. Therefore, the name of the place was called the Valley of Acre to this day. 8. Yahweh said to Joshua, "Don't be afraid and don't be dismayed. Take all the warriors with you, and arise and go up to Ai. Behold, I have given into your hand of Ai, with his people, his city, and his land. You shall do Ai and her king as you did to Jericho and her king, except you shall take its goods and its livestock for yourself. Set an ambush for the city behind it." So Joshua arose with all the warriors to go up to Ai. Joshua chose 30,000 men, the mighty men of valor, and sent them out by night. He commanded them, saying, "Behold, you shall lie in ambush against the city, behind the city. Don't go very far from the city, but all of you be ready. And I and all the people who are with me approach the city. It shall happen when they come out against us, as at first, that will flee before them. They will come out after us until we have drawn them away from the city, for they will say, 'They flee before us like the first time.' So we will flee before them, and you shall rise up from the ambush and take possession of the city, for Yahweh your God will deliver it in your hand. It shall be, when you have seized the city, that you shall set the city on fire. You shall do this according to Yahweh's word. Behold, I have commanded you." Joshua sent them out, and they went up to set up the ambush, and stayed between Bethel and Ai on the west side of Ai. But Joshua stayed among the people that night. Joshua rose up early in the morning, and mustered the people, and went up, he and the elders of Israel, before the people to Ai. All the people, even the men of war who were with him, went up and came near, and came before the city, and encamped on the north side of Ai. Now there was a valley between him and Ai, he took about 5,000 men and set them in ambush between Bethel and Ai on the west side of the city. So they set the people and all the army that was on the north of the city, and their ambush on the west side of the city, and Joshua went that night into the middle of the valley. When the king of Ai saw it, they hurried and rose up early, and all the men of the city went out against Israel to battle. He and all his people at the time appointed before Arabah, but he didn't know there was an ambush against him beyond the city. Joshua and all Israel made as if they were beaten before them, and fled by the way of the wilderness. All the people who were in the city were called together to pursue after them. They pursued Joshua and were drawn away from the city. There was not a man left in Ai or Bethel who didn't go out after Israel. Yahweh said to Joshua, "Stretch out the javelin that is in your hand toward Ai, for I will give it into your hand." Joshua stretched out the javelin that was in his hand toward the city. The ambush arose quickly out of their place, and they ran as soon as he had stretched out his hand and entered into the city and took it. They hurried and set the city on fire. When the man of Ai turned behind them, they saw, and behold, the smoke of the city ascend up to heaven. And they had no power to flee this way or that way. The people who fled into the wilderness turned back on the pursuers. When Joshua and all Israel saw the ambush had taken the city, and that the smoke of the city ascended, they turned back and killed the men of Ai. The others came out of the city against them. So they were in the middle of Israel, some on this side and some on that side. They struck them, so that they let none of them remain or escape. They captured the king of Ai alive and brought him to Joshua. When Israel had finished killing all the inhabitants of Ai in the field, in the wilderness which they pursued them, and they had all fallen by the edge of the sword until they were consumed, all Israel returned to Ai and struck it with the edge of the sword. All that fell that day, both of men and women, were 12,000, even all of the people of Ai. For Joshua didn't draw back his hand, with which he stretched out the javelin, until he had utterly destroyed all of the inhabitants of Ai. Israel took for themselves only the livestock and the goods of that city, according to Yahweh's word, which he commanded Joshua. So Joshua burned Ai, and made it a heap forever, even a desolation to this day. He hanged the king of Ai on a tree until the evening. At sundown Joshua commanded, and they took his body down from the tree and threw it at the entrance of the gate to the city, and raised a great heap of stones on it that remains to this day. Then Joshua built an altar to Yahweh, the God of Israel, on Mount Ebal. As Moses, the servant of Yahweh, commanded the children of Israel, and it's written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of uncut stones, on which no one had lifted up any iron. They offered burnt offerings on it to Yahweh and sacrificed peace offerings. He wrote on there the stones a copy of Moses' law, which he wrote in the presence of the children of Israel. All Israel, with their elders, officers, judges, stood on both sides of the ark before Levitical priests who carried the ark of Yahweh's covenant. The foreigner as well as the native, half of them in front of Mount Gerizim, and half of them in front of Mount Ebal, as Moses, the servant of Yahweh, had commanded at the first. They should bless the people of Israel. Afterward, he read all of the words of law, the blessing and the curse, according to all that is written in the book. There is not a word of all that Moses commanded which Joshua didn't read. before all the assembly of Israel, with the women, the little ones, and the foreigners who were among them. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to read this. I hope it finds you in a good place. God bless.
Hi, friend, and welcome to Fear into Faith Global Bible Revival, where we're on a mission to get 1 million people to read the Bible cover to cover in a year. I'm your host, Summer Day, and with me in the studio are Tim and Jamie. Woo!
Hello.
I got that one right.
Yes, you did.
It was one of the easiest ones I've done so far, if I'm being honest, but I got it right. Y'all are amazing.
Cool.
So happy to be here.
Thanks for having me.
So excited.
Okay, tell the audience just a little bit about who you are, where you're from.
Sure. Jamie and I are both originally from Buffalo, New York. So if anybody's familiar with Toronto,
Wait,
Canada.
you guys know each other?
Yeah, a little bit. We just met on the way in here, actually. Believe it or not.
Come on!
Yeah.
Jesus blind date.
We really hit it off. Hey,
Hey, you know what? You might be prophesying something that might happen on the show later. Some people, I don't know.
could be. Never knows. But so we're originally from Buffalo, New York, and the last 2 years we picked up and moved to Sarasota, Florida.
It's
So
beautiful
sun,
there.
fun, lots of these, palm trees,
Come on.
nice stuff. Yeah. We're about 20 minutes from the coast. We're at the beach frequently, so
Oh,
it's great. It's great. We got
y'all are married?
Yep, we're married.
Well, you-
Together 9 years.
9 years.
Yep.
But married 2 years.
Married 2.
And we have
Yep.
a little sweet 4-year-old girl named Charlie.
Sure.
And our newest addition.
Oh, yes.
Vinny.
I've seen Vinny.
Yes.
Vinny is a super cute little love.
Yeah. Italian Greyhounds.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I was like, I could not tell you what kind of dog it is.
Yep.
Other than it's so cute and bushy.
Yes.
That's right.
Maybe on the last segment, we're going to have to bring Vinny in. You have to be a star of the show. I love it. You guys are so awesome. So you came all the way from Sarasota to be a part of this. And so
Yep.
we're just really,
Yeah,
really
we found out, I don't even know if it's been a week since we found out about this, but we were super pumped to meet everybody and be a part of it. And I booked the flight, and now here we are. So
I am just stunned. I have to be honest with you guys. When God was like giving us idea, I never really thought people would jump on a plane and come here, and I didn't think they would do it if within a week. And I thought if they didn't know me, there's no way they would do it. So the Lord is always just blowing my mind on the people that are showing up. All right. So the first question I love asking people: you both recorded your Bible readings today. How did that go, Tim?
for me, I right before I went to the restroom to relieve myself, make sure, take one last look in the mirror, and I said, this is in God's hands. Yeah. I just totally have to remove myself from any real participation other than just showing up, getting in the chair, picking up the book, and starting to read. And what I found is that I was nervous in the beginning, but it melts it away, right? And it seems to do that for me when I just turn things over like that.
I love it. You did a great job. I know you have a little bit of story with your reading.
Yeah. So when I found out what it was reading, I read his and was like, I'm not doing this one. I need yours. I'm taking your reading. And he was like, oh, really? Thanks. And I'm like, I don't care. There's too many names. I studied all the names in my reading. And then all of a sudden, you're like, well, we changed your reading. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah, because you went after him, and he had read all of your ones you were going to read.
But he read all your readings, and then you're like, now what? But God gave me literally the easiest reading on all 3. So, thank you.
Yay!
Yes.
Yeah, I was a little nervous because I'm like, I don't know Jamie, but we gave her all the readings, and then now she's not going to do it.
Yeah, I know. I was not excited or happy about that, but I was going to show up and knew that God would speak through me no matter what. And if I stumbled on my words, like, who cares, because I'm human. So,
That's right.
Thank you for reading. And honestly, like, that's what we want. We want people that are just real people. If they stumble over their words, then maybe people are like, oh, I don't have to be perfect to read the Bible.
yeah.
Yay.
Yep.
So good. Well, we also like talking to people just about their just kind of journey, their journey with God. We've had people that were born and raised in the church. We've had people that were not. We've had people that even only came to know God super recently that have been on the show. So I'd love to just tap into a little bit of just that for you. I know you and I got to talk about your story
which is amazing.
Maybe you could share just a little bit first, and you
go first.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. So I was born and raised Catholic. Participated in a church local up in Buffalo. Baptized, confirmed, everything in between. As the years went on, I think that I found myself like I've heard other people describe and stuff. You sort of get distracted, right? Like life happens, and I think that what I tend to attribute it to is I try to control the situation myself, right? Like I don't allow something else to come in and offer guidance, right? I'm not listening. And so, I spent a lot of years in a world where I was trying to run the show, right? And I was trying to manage myself and everybody else around me, right? Myself being, both my spiritual self and physical self, trying to, take anything that was in front of me to feel a certain way, whatever. I reached out and tried to just grab anything tangible that would fix whatever I had going on inside of me. And this is actually how we met is we both got involved in some service work for other people who struggled similar to us, with substances and whatnot. And that's really the first introduction to finding a place where I could communicate with something again, right? Where I could show up and have a purpose and feel connected to something other than like my will, right? Like what I want for myself. Like I want new clothes and I want a new car and I want all this stuff, right? But it's like, I really had to take a look through my actions and just through life experience and say, this is not working for me, right? And me running the show is not working for me. And I needed an intervention, from something, right? Something bigger than myself. I needed something bad. So and let me tell you this, it happened. Wow. And that was almost a decade ago.
Wow.
So, we've been doing this for a while.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Well, I know you have an incredible story, so whatever part, however you want to share about that.
Yeah. Okay. So I grew up in a trailer park, alcoholic mom, only child. Very lonely childhood, very lonely, eventually turned into self-sabotaging behaviors and turning to drugs, trying to find myself and it was just in so much pain. And so I didn't grow up with religion, with God. I had none of that. And so it wasn't something where I was like, are you real? Are you not? It was just like, this is my life and it's horrible. I was living in hell. And eventually, I was 26 years old on the streets using drugs, and I got arrested, 3C felonies, and I went to jail. And it was there for the first time on my own that I prayed to God, and I said, God, if you're there, help me to want to stop using drugs, because I didn't, because my body wanted it and craved it. Yeah. My flesh did, right? But my soul wanted something different. And so that was my soul, right? And that was my first introduction. And it was God who told me to write, you can do it on the wall. And I remember doing it in like this pencil, because they only gave you pencils.
Did you get in trouble? Were you allowed to write
for sure. They were like, you're not allowed to do that. And I was just like, and so I wrote, you can do it on the wall in big capital letters, and I read it every day, and I thought if I read it, I would actually believe it. And so I was looking at 7 years in prison, and, that person who was wronged against because of drug addiction did not show up to court, and I was released.
Wow.
Yep, and I got my life together.
How often does that happen?
I don't think often. No, I don't think that.
You can check out the rest of this interview right here or by going to BibleRevival.tv. And if this show has blessed you, you can help us bless others by partnering with us for as little as $20 a month and help us to expand the reach of this show. We'd also like to invite you to join our Kingdom Discipleship Program, where you have an opportunity to get on weekly Bible Zoom calls with us and people around the world to deep dive into His Word. And you can check all that out at BibleRevival.tv. I'll see you next time, my friend.